Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're here at Market Mindset. We want to tell you information, catch up on news, and go through some of the big stories that are happening today and where it's pointing us in the future. It's a tough time. As we can see, we're really in it. We've said that for quite some time, and we think we've got a good plan moving forward, and we want to share that with you. So we have our new updated course that we're going through that we're going to teach live as well. So reach out to us soon to show some interest. But more importantly today is that we're talking about some comments by JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon. And, you know, this is good pushback. And we named this the road to hell because he promptly and accurately stated what the situation is right now, what the issues are with the energy crisis. And quite frankly, him along with a few other people that were interviewed and paneled, that if there was a plan to transition, it's either not well thought out or this is not the crew that can do it because it's not working. There doesn't seem to be a plan, and that just simply not investing in oil and gas for the time being, it can't work. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're asking for complete and utter breakdown of energy, which would mean society, economics. It would be a total disaster. And we've said that here too. And that has nothing to do with people wanting to get towards renewable type energy or to shift into the new types of possibilities that are being created. We certainly want that over here, and we say it all the time. But the difference I think that one should take to this is that not that, and sure, Jamie Dimon is a bit of a greedy capitalist type of guy, so I won't defend that argument. But this is an entire investment bank with tons of analysts. They do research all day long, and it's not from a place of ignorance that they're saying this. They look at data. This isn't this meme of cold-hearted capitalists that just want to destroy the earth. That's not that. It doesn't exist. I mean, that's a meme from the 19th century kind of thing. This is a realistic look from the data and from real goal setting to see, can we do this? And we simply can't. And we've seen what happens. And if you are a believer in the carbon kind of side of the story, and once again, I reiterate, I'm more of someone who's interested in environment in total. I'd rather be talking about plastics, about packaging, about the environment and different types of pollution rather than just everyone just talking about carbon. I think it's very convenient that it's only about carbon when people talk about environment. So I'm not even going from the side of less environmental concern. I would much more appreciate if there was a more of approach towards total look at how we're affecting the environment. And yes, what happened is not only are some of the developing countries back to coal, whether it's Sri Lanka, parts of the Middle East, you name it. I mean, China hasn't stopped using coal. India has never stopped using coal. And these are massive populations, massive countries with massive energy outputs. We have Europe using coal again. So how's the plan working? This is more of a discussion on not what's sensible or what can work if you had professionals in charge doing a transition. This has to do more with politics. And one of the easiest things to do is look at the track record of the people and generally politicians. I mean, they've never worked in any of these sectors before, so they don't know. They're just reading a research report someone else gave them. Often they're reading a research report that came from the UN or the WEF, and they're being told information from them, and they just accept it blindly, and they go along with it. And sometimes it's because of a different, it's a self-serving agenda, but a lot of times it would be simply, that seems reasonable. We would like to have a cleaner earth. All right. And you would just agree. I mean, so if you're not knowledgeable in an area, it would be strange to think, why are all these people at the UN lying to me? Why are these people lying to me? Because it's politics. There's a whole other list of issues going on, and we're dealing with them now. So we have an energy realism report out. And once again, we've got a lot of good feedback. Of course, we've got a lot of angry people as well. But once again, it's coming from, do you actually know the situation? Do you know how much mining it takes? Do you know how we'll get there? Do you know where your energy comes from? Do you know that, say, I believe that I was speaking to one economic engineer about if you wanted to have all electric cars in Vancouver by 2030, we don't have the system to hold that. I mean, right now they couldn't handle. I believe that they're having a hard time handling the amount of electric cars they have today. But say you want to try to do that, it would take another 9 or 10 Site C dams if you were trying to do this all with green energy. What do you think the chances are of getting 1 or 2 more of those put through? Because you're going to start damming up rivers. No, it's not going to happen. So there has to be a part of this realistic talk and conversation. And often if you're talking about someone who's an extreme left-wing environmental person, you'll find at the end of the day, what they're really talking about is they're talking about a redistribution of wealth. So like your climate alarmism groups, that's really what they're talking about. This is just a talking point to get there. They're talking about redistribution of wealth, or they're talking about just stop using. And I've literally had those conversations with people is that, no, we just want people to stop using. And that's not a solution. At least it's not a serious solution, and it's not something that one needs to even embark on. We need to find the people that understand the issues, they understand what it's going to take, also the time frame. So I really appreciate that someone like Jamie Dimon stepped out and he laid it out flat. I mean, it's just, he's like, I'm not going to stop investing in it because it's absolutely necessary. And I don't think people understand too the amount of use that the oil part, like the natural gas part, is an obvious and easy solution if we were to even just to wean off in the West and get, say we got the types of power that we would need and we solved the intermittency issue when we were able to store energy and we are working our way towards that greener future. The developing world would be far better off using natural gas as it builds and climbs than to continue using coal. That's just obvious. And you'll notice with a lot of these climate arguments is that they don't ever want to talk about the developing world. They don't want to talk about China. They don't want to talk about India. They don't want to talk about other types of pollution. It's strictly focused on the West. And at the end of the day, that should leave you questioning why is that? Why can't we have this conversation about the rest of the world and what they're doing? Why is it that we have to drop ours by 1% while the developing world is continuing to use massive amounts of coal, say? And that's a quick way to realize that we're not having the same conversation. And often the politician doesn't even understand that what conversation they're having. They're just going on and saying, oh, it looks like a green agenda looks good. We're going to push this ESG thing, even though we're not exactly sure what that means. And we've talked about the ESG thing, and gratefully Jamie Dimon did it as well. There's parts of the E that are pretty good. There's the governance is there for a little power grab, and the S is absolute terrible. So there's a lot of bad in that, but we try to keep some of the good. And make no mistake, all of these issues that you saw over the last 4, 5, 6 years that have been culminating, they've come from strictly right from WEF, the World Economic Forum, in accordance with the UN. They work together, looking at the track record of these people, their ability to prophesize the events that are going through, including the fertilizer shortage and upcoming food issues. They've openly talked about that many years ago, that this would be happening. It's disconcerting to say the least. And we've confirmed that with people in the agri-tech sector as well, about them issuing warnings about food chain supply as well as fertilizer that just went unheard, not a concern. So I don't pretend to know what the intent of any of these groups are. We try to keep away from that, because once you do talk about intent or you think it's this or that, then you're labeled a conspiracy theorist. We just talk about what they openly talk about. We encourage people to look at their websites, to look at the data. We encourage people to reach out to us, and we'll happily send you stuff directly from these organizations and groups to help get you caught up on what's actually happening. Because if you rely on a third party, and even myself, for your data and information, there should be footnotes or there should be links that bring you to that specific site. So in the past, we've always shown, or WEF or BlackRock, or say even with Jamie Dimon here, this isn't just an article. If this article didn't have the video or didn't have links that could take me to the actual quote that I could confirm, that's a good way to know that the website or the information you're getting may not be totally accurate. And believe me, there's tons on both sides of crazy opinion pieces that don't have any footnotes, any highlighted areas, or any way to confirm, did that person actually say that? And that's a good way for critical thinking to see, is the information you're getting accurate? A lot of times too, who's funding your education? Unfortunately, all of these issues have become political, and they don't need to be. Everyone would love to do things in a greener fashion. So you're making the assumption that there's a ton of scientists and engineers out there that want to do nothing more than to harm the planet. And that is a negative way of looking at things, I think. So I think nowadays we need to be very cognizant of both sides of each argument and look into them. Be curious. Does someone on the right side or the left side of a climate discussion, what are they actually saying? And then there's in between there's probably something very reasonable. And I think Jamie Dimon nailed it on the head, was if we're concerned that carbon is an issue, we've now increased it dramatically by this plan that has been put in effect by progressives. So it's not working, and it's not getting any better. There has to be more investment for the time being, and a proper plan over the next 10 years, say, to be able to see if this technology is working, if we can actually store it, and all of these issues, because we're not there. We're close. And is there the investment along that whole chain of transition to ensure that we do it? And that should be the case for any plan. And it's not there. So it's good because it shows they're questioning the policies, not the issues. They're not saying this doesn't exist. So I don't want you to think that Jamie Dimon is saying, I'm investing in oil and gas because we don't believe that the weather is changing or that the climate's changing. Of course, everyone acknowledges that climate changes. It does. It has since the beginning of time. It's what's the solution, and how do we get from, considering climate or weather to what can we do about carbon? And those are two different conversations. There is, once again, there isn't consensus on that as much as media would like to tell you there is. So just a quick catch up. It's tough times in the market. That being said, I have conversations with people all the time, and they have no idea what's going on. And that amazes me, because we're in literally a world history event that we're going through between the lockdowns, the future lockdowns that some countries definitely want to do, and the power struggle in politics as sides are being quickly shifted right now, and no bigger do we see than in BRICS. The alliance that is, the ruble's up. Russia's doing quite well, as much as people may be frustrated. The ruble is up. It's doing very well. The relationship between China and India and Russia is growing stronger. If that doesn't concern you, maybe reach out to us. We'll do a Zoom call with people to understand why that is such an alarming event to occur, because that in and of itself is world news that people should be paying attention to on a massive level, never mind the issue we have with food right now. And that has to beg the question, why do we need to do all of this all right now? Why, during an energy crisis, do we have to shut off the pumps? Why would we do that? Why, whenever we know there is a fertilizer and food problem, do they want to stop countries from using nitrogen? Why can't we wait, say a year or two? Why does it have to be today? What reason would there be? So a lot of these problems seem to be created specifically by the policymakers that want to stay in power. Once again, I'm not saying it is. I don't know. It just seems very strange that any reasonable person would take a look at the issues, put a time frame together, and say, listen, we have to do this at the time being. It's a Band-Aid. It gets us to here. That isn't what's happening. So it's a very strange and interesting time. Each day, something different is coming forefront. You have to look in the news to see. If you're watching the mainstream news, you're not going to see what's happening around the world. You have to go out and find it, and you'll be alarmed and surprised as well that people are pushing back at a huge rate to this kind of globalist World Economic Forum push that's been going on. And I know the conspiracy crowd out there that likes to chant everyone that disagrees with them as a conspiracy theorist, but you just have to go to the World Economic Forum and look at their Young Leaders page, and you're going to see a lot of familiar faces in there. So, in any event, very, very interesting times. It is tough out there. There's a lot of bad economic news still on the forefront. So everyone stay strong. And if we stay focused on how to solve problems, and we focus on the companies as we do that are really looking to make a significant change. I mean, for example, we've been talking to a company that's able to sequester carbon into cement. I would rather be spending my time talking about that and ways to solve some of these issues and funding companies to do that than the fear tactics constantly coming from, stop this, stop that, we're shutting down this, we're shutting down this. It's like, well, why don't we start opening up dialogue and embracing a lot of the bright minds that we have to get them encouraged and excited about solving these problems rather than constantly overwhelmed with negativity. So we will continue to look for companies, and we'll have some new information out as well for our subscribers of, once again, this one amazing company that deals in this sequestering of carbon into cement, which is mind-blowing. It's incredible. It's very exciting. And the rest of the companies that we look to help transition, that are solving some of these problems with intermittency, they're solving some of these green issues, but also some of the companies that are going to help get us there, that might be able to sequester carbon, looking at hydrogen, of course, helium. All of these companies are helping to shape a future that people want to see. And we'd rather stay on those positive news topics while we don't discount the reality of what's happening. So a little bit more of an intense Friday, but it's an intense time. Hang in there, and let's focus on the prize. We try to think, what will it look like in 2 years or 3 years when we get through this? That's kind of where we focus our thoughts. Is nothing comes without a bit of hard work and a little bit of pain and suffering, because that's what builds character. And at the end of the day, when our time is up, I think that's what's most important, is looking back and knowing that we faced obstacles, went through them, and we're on the right side of things. So enjoy your weekend, and everyone, take care.